Have you ever wondered what your dog actually sees when it looks at you? Does it recognize you as a human, another dog, or a walking food dispenser? For decades, one dominant idea has ruled popular culture: the belief that your dog follows you because it sees you as the alpha. We've been told that if a dog pulls on the leash, it's trying to dominate you. If it climbs on the couch, it's challenging your authority. It sounds logical, but it's completely wrong. The theory wasn't based on how dogs actually think. It was based on a flawed 1940 study of stressed, captive wolves forced to fight for survival in a cage. When biologists finally studied real wolf packs in the wild, the myth evaporated. Wild packs aren't battlegrounds ruled by a tyrant. They're families, where leadership looks like parental guidance, not an aggressive dictatorship. So if you aren't the alpha of the pack, then what are you to them? To understand how your dog truly sees you, we have to look back thousands of years ago before dogs even existed. 30,000 years ago, human survival came down to a single, fragile boundary: the edge of a campfire. Inside the light was safety. Outside of it were predators, and somewhere just beyond the fire, wolves were watching. Humans usually imagine wolves as cold-eyed killers waiting for the fire to die, but that's actually not the case. Some of those wolves weren't aggressive at all, they're just curious. Instead of fleeing, they lingered around the edges of human camps, scavenging the scraps left behind. These wolves discovered a simple evolutionary loop. Staying close to humans meant regular food, and nature rewarded that choice. The wolves that tolerated humans survived easily. Their offspring inherited that tameness, and over generations, these wolves broke away from the wild pack entirely. Evolutionary biologist Raymond Coppinger called this the self-domestication hypothesis. Humans didn't conquer and tame wolves. Wolves tamed themselves. It was a trade-off for survival. Humans gained extraordinary hearing and an unmatched sense of smell. Wolves gained protection and a steady diet. But they didn't just learn to live beside us. Their brains literally rewired themselves to understand us better than any other creature on Earth. And that permanently changed how they saw us. If another person walked into the room right now, you would immediately identify them by their face. That's because humans are visual creatures. We dedicate massive amounts of brain power to what our eyes can see. Most people assume dogs do the same. They don't. While dogs can recognize your face, sight is only its secondary sense. Its primary way of knowing you is actually your scent. You have about 6 million scent receptors inside your nose. Your dog has well over 200 million. When you walk into your kitchen, you see a table, some chairs, and a bowl of fruit. But your dog doesn't see the room that way. It sees a timeline. It can smell who prepared breakfast hours ago. It knows which family member walked through the door 10 minutes past. It knows an unfamiliar dog walked past the front gate 5 minutes ago. To us, the past is invisible. To your dog, it leaves a physical trail. Every room tells a story, and what's fascinating is dogs can even see through you. When your emotions shift, your body chemistry also changes. You release subtle markers in your sweat and breath, which are completely invisible to humans. But to your dog, they're part of the physical landscape. It's why your dog often knows you're upset before you've said a single word. It doesn't need to hear you cry. It walks over quietly and rests its head on your lap because it is reading a chemical signal you don't even know you're broadcasting. But recognizing your scent is only the baseline. In the early 2000s, neuroscientist Gregory Berns asked a much deeper question. Does your scent just identify you, or does it actually mean something emotional to a dog's brain? For a long time, we couldn't answer that. MRI machines are red flags for most animals. Most of them require heavy sedation just to go near them. But Berns and his team didn't use sedation. They used patience. Over months of training, they taught a dog named Callie to walk voluntarily into an MRI scanner, rest its head, and lie perfectly still while completely awake. And for the first time in history, researchers could watch a conscious canine brain think. This would later be known as the Dog Project. The experiment was simple. They presented the dog with different smells while recording their brain activity. Unfamiliar people, unfamiliar dogs, and finally, the scent of the dog's own human caregiver. The data stood out immediately. When the dogs caught the scent of their person, activity spiked in the caudate nucleus. In both dogs and humans, this region is not a simple data processor. It's the brain's emotional engine. In simple terms, it's the reward center. It's the exact part of your brain that lights up when you see a photograph of your child, when you hear the voice of someone you love after years of separation, or when you anticipate a life-changing reward. When your dog catches your scent, it isn't just thinking the food dispenser has arrived. The scent triggers an immediate, involuntary surge of neurological pleasure. Your scent carries an immense emotional currency. Inside the canine brain, you aren't just another living creature moving through the environment. You're now the dog's emotional anchor. And that connection goes even deeper. It triggers a biological feedback loop through something as simple as eye contact. For humans, eye contact is a tool for intimacy. Wolves don't do this. In the wild, a sustained gaze is a threat. It's a challenge. But dogs broke that evolutionary rule. Somewhere during the 30,000-year walk alongside humanity, they stopped looking away. In 2015, a Japanese veterinary researcher named Miho Nagasawa wanted to understand the chemistry behind this broken rule. She invited 30 pairs of dogs and their owners into a room to interact naturally for 30 minutes. They played, they talked, and crucially, they looked at each other. This experiment was done to measure a highly specific hormone, oxytocin. Oxytocin is often referred to by biologists as the bonding hormone or the molecule of devotion, and it serves a critical evolutionary purpose in mammals. It overrides the natural fear of others and creates deep social attachment. The results were stunning. The longer they looked at each other, the more their oxytocin levels spiked. Not just in the human, but in the dog too. The gaze triggered the hormone, and the hormone encouraged a longer gaze. Over thousands of years, dogs managed to plug directly into the most sacred social bonding system in the human brain. It is a biological superpower born entirely out of domestication. Which brings us back to our original question. If you aren't their alpha and you aren't just a walking food dispenser, then what are you to them? The answer didn't come from studying wild predators. It came from studying human nurseries. When a baby encounters something unfamiliar, like a loud, strange mechanical toy, it freezes. It doesn't look at the toy. It turns around and looks directly at its mother's face. It's reading her micro-expressions as data. If the mother is calm, the baby relaxes and explores. If the mother looks frightened, the baby cries. When animal behaviorists ran this exact same test with dogs, the results were identical. They found that when a trusted owner is present, a dog will explore a strange, unfamiliar room with confidence. If the owner leaves, the dog immediately becomes hesitant and anxious, ignoring its toys and food. When the owner returns, the anxiety vanishes. The human isn't a master. The human is a literal secured base for the dog. Your dog doesn't think of you as its owner. It has no concept of property. It doesn't think of you as another dog either. Instead, your dog sees you as a unique individual whose very presence changes how safe the world feels. Not because you're the fiercest leader of a pack, but because somewhere deep inside its mind, you are home. If you enjoyed the video and would like to see more contents exploring weird animal behaviors and other things, like and subscribe.